Today it's first time I'm gonna film outside. Arwen is a fictional character in the novel and the movie The Lord of the Rings, and one of my favorite characters in the trilogy, especially because of her beautiful costumes. When I was considering which costume to sew, I had a clear choice right at the beginning, this one. This dress appears in the second part when Arwen leaves Rivendell, but she has the dress hidden under the cloak. Then you can see it in the Return of the King at the moment when she returns to the Rivendell, determined to stay with Aragorn. For this project, I needed many kinds of fabric: blue silk for underdress, dark blue velvet for overdress, one white metallic chiffon and one beige chiffon for the sleeves, viscose for the lining, and of course some trims for decorating the sleeves and the neckline. From the beginning, I was pretty sure that I will never able to replicate the original trim, so I chose the ones on the internet that most closely resembled the original ones. Since the elven costumes are loose and reminiscent to medieval dresses, I use a Butterick pattern B4827 and then I adapt it to my own needs during the sewing process. I made cut looser so that I could pull dress over my head and not have to do a closure. The underdress are simply to make. It has 5 pieces: front and front side panels, back and back side panels, and sleeves. I had to change a sleeve pattern a little. The pattern sleeve are shortcut about 3 cm above the elbow. At this point above the elbow, a lower long sleeve will be attached. The lower sleeve shape is very difficult to figure out on these costumes. It looks like a long floor-length coin most time. So I created a sleeve pattern so that the top of the sleeve has a trapezoidal shape and the lower part a rectangular shape. After joining the seam, the sleeve will now look like a coin with a cut top. First I cut out all pieces for the lining and then for the dress itself. And nicely in the American style, I cut out the individual parts including the seam allowances. I'm not used to this way, but it's true that seam allowances then have the same width. Now I pin all pieces together and sew at my sewing machine. I made the lining including the sleeves, but the dress I made without sleeves, because before attaching them I will embroider them and decorate them with the beads. The upper sleeve is embroidered with the flowers that have a rocaille sewn over the part of the pattern. One interesting thing I noticed was that the beading on the sleeve seems to be on the bodice underarm as well, but I made the beading only on the sleeves. I traced the pattern for embroidery from the page Customer's Guide. First I sketched it on the paper and then I used a marking pen to redraw the pattern on the sleeve fabric. The original floral pattern was embroidered with a small zigzag stitch, but I used a straight stitch because even with the narrowest silver thread zigzag stitch, my sewing machine failed. Then, according to my imagination, I decorated the embroidered pattern with the rocaille beads and the sequins. I didn't stick the original pattern much, but I decorated the way I like it. After sewing the upper sleeve to the armhole of the bodice, I'll focus my attention on making the lower sleeve. Since I did not get the fabric corresponding to original and white metallic chiffon was too bright white, I chose a beige chiffon as the underlayer of the sleeve to change the color tone of the metallic chiffon a bit. I cut all pieces for the sleeves and then I pin and sew the sleeve in the slightly beveled part. I made the hems very narrow so that it looks good, and I sew it by my hand so that the stitches cannot be seen from front side. I inserted the beige sleeve into the white chiffon sleeve and then I basted the layers together at the top of the sleeve. Then I sewed the lower part of the sleeve with the upper one by my hand and I covered the seam between the silk and the chiffon with a trim, and now the sleeves were finished. If you want to avoid attaching the sleeves by hand sewing, sew the sleeves parts together before sewing and sides and into the armhole opening. First I finished the neckline. I pinned and then sewed the lining and the dress at the neckline with the right sides together. Next step was clipping the curved seam allowances of the neckline and then I turned the lining to the wrong side. I decorated the neckline with a trim, and because the trim was straight and the neckline has a curved edges, I made notches on it like into the seam allowances and then I stitched them up. To get close to the original trim, I decorated the trim with a dark gold sequins and beads. Sewing beads was quite a hard work and I worked late into the night. At the end, I made the hem of the skirt. First I made mock-up. I pinned a braid around the neckline of the dress to see where the top of the overdress will be, and then I used a draping method to make a pattern for overdress. I made two pieces, front and back. I laid pattern on the fabric and cut front and back piece. Then I pin and sew pieces at sides. Edges of the armhole opening I finished with a bias tape, and around the neckline I pin and then sew the braid. And the last step was making a double fold hem. And because the Arwen lives in Rivendell in the forest, I went to the forest and for the first time I was filming a costume for you outside. Well, a small forest bushes almost destroyed my clothes and I kept praying that no one would see me. So I was a little bit nervous during the filming, but the background of the forest matched the clothes beautifully. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching, and if you think the video is not completely embarrassing or something like that, you can subscribe my channel to see more of my videos. Thank you and bye!